And a good Wednesday afternoon, everyone. Roger Hill with a VELCO Weather Hazards Outlook. Looking at the country, of course, and we can see how cold it is up in parts of Canada, which remains very, very cold. A lot of the jet stream energy continues to move either in from the Pacific Ocean, occasionally dropping down from the Gulf of Alaska to some pretty powerful cutoff lows and an atmospheric river, of course, kind of being pulled in across the Pacific Ocean. And this pretty fast, almost like a fire hydrant flow that takes place kind of east-northeasterly right into the East Coast. What does that do? It creates warmer temperatures, much like what we saw earlier this winter. All the cold air is mainly up in Canada and out in the west, and this is where all the main dynamics are. For us, we have a couple weather systems that are going to move on through. The first one moves in with some rain, maybe a little bit of wet snow mixed in during the night tonight. That would be Wednesday night into Thursday, and primarily rain. Very limited amounts of wet snowflakes, but then that moves on out. It tails off basically as a few flurries. A better day comes in on Friday, except for the Northeast Kingdom, seeing some wet snowflakes, some lingering flurries there. And then once we get into Saturday, into Sunday, we're looking at the next system. This is mainly the jet stream energy from this weather system here that's going to be moving in and developing across the country. And we're looking at primarily a mix of precipitation types, as typically these flows bring a little bit too much warmer air aloft, and that's indeed what's going to be taking place. We also have, as a surface low spins up and moves into the Great Lakes, it's going to cause some interactions along the Green Mountain spine, and this would be not only southern Vermont, but central and northern areas, but a narrow geography of a very short-lived gradient wind. Southeasterly winds where we could see gusts anywhere from 35, isolated 50-mile-per-hour gusts along the immediate western slopes of the Green Mountains, where some downsloping will take place. It does not look like a big event. This would land on Saturday evening, and it does look relatively short-lived. Beyond that, we're into a fairly active, but moderately active period with main storms again. The strongest storms will be basically out west. Some of that energy is going to move east, but for the most part, doesn't look too bad. Let's look at the computer modeling. You have the European on the left-hand side with the, that would be the Canadian model on the right-hand side, and they're just about identical going out in time. High pressure and control today, bringing us a gorgeous, gorgeous afternoon on this Wednesday. We will have thickening clouds push in late in the day, and from there, we're going into cloud cover that'll be with us quite a bit. Now here comes that weather system. This is going to be pushing in basically later overnight. A little bit of rain showers mixed maybe with a few wet snowflakes in the northern tier regions, kind of push on by there. Not very wet, lesser precip further off to the south, but this thing kind of trickles in and really develops after about mid to late morning, about mid-morning on Thursday, and then we're looking at primarily just a rainy day. Now, there could be some wet snowflakes mixed in some parts of the Northeast Kingdom Highlands, maybe the Northern Green Mountains, but for the most part, it's barely registering. It's mainly going to be rainstorm, and it could be some moderate rain at times late in the day. This is valid 21Z, that'd be 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And that the bulk of that precipitation works on to our east. A little surface low develops. Snow remains to the north and east of the region. Then we have a little ridge of higher pressure that's going to build in for pretty decent weather Friday, but you might notice a little bit of snow shower flurry action kind of lingering with this kind of weak frontal boundary. And in the northern parts of Vermont, very limited amounts, but otherwise we could call Friday basically a dry weather day, but unfortunately a few flurries lingering in the kingdom. Then we set up basically on Saturday. We'll start out with dry weather. This high pressure system kind of builds in, but it doesn't last very long. It's going to kind of open the door. This is our next weather system coming in on Saturday. We're starting to see a formation of a little bit of wet snow with that snow shield pushing on in, a lot of warmer air, and you can see a little bit of a pressure gradient here. This is what's going to be interacting with the Green Mountains with a kind of a southeast flow interacting, and of course that's going to cause some gradient winds. So mixed precipitation types, we go from basically wet snow, a little bit of sleet, and then back to wet snow, and so on and so forth. By the time we get into Sunday, we're looking at primarily just wet snow. But again, that period where it could be a little bit more active with southeasterly gradient winds will be basically during the evening hours on Saturday evening, and then it's pretty much finished. It moves on out pretty quickly. as this weather system kind of pushes off to the north and east, and the surface low goes out to sea. That leaves a little bit of flurry action basically into starting Monday morning, and then eventually that dries up. Things are looking pretty good for a little while, kind of a brief break before the next one. Shortwave trough moves on in, and this might produce a little bit of snow, maybe some rain, kind of spring-like weather pattern here. It's fairly active, and that could be followed by an area of higher pressure. The Canadian GEM model thinks troughiness will kind of linger just a bit, maybe a little bit more blocking in toward the Greenland area, so that may also kind of linger with some snow showers and flurries going into kind of an unsettled weather pattern with cooler conditions as we head beyond the period into next week. Looking at the 3-hourly QPF with the GFS ensemble centered grid on Montpelier, these are our two main weather systems. This is our primarily with rain. This is the primary one with snow or mixed precipitation types, and then that unsettled period kind of indicated by the Canadian GEM anyway. European doesn't really include that. Looks like a drier period to follow. So I'll have to wait and see. No big deal there. However, total QPF looks like this. And we'll come up to basically about an inch with these two weather systems put together. In terms of precipitation type, it's primarily rain, a little bit of a mix on the front end. I would ignore that. However, this is our more problematic mixed precipitation types with primarily snow, and then temperatures remain just a little bit colder. So looking at 850 hectopascal temperatures, the 0 degrees centigrade line here, and we're looking at temperatures above that. So that would include the rain, and then cold enough to snow as the temperatures dip, and so on and so forth. And with that overall snow, we could see maybe perhaps as much as around 5-6 inches out of this total. This is our latest model run. I believe that that's probably a little bit more closer to reality. This looks a little bit out of range, but we'll have to wait and see. And again, utilities should monitor this because this will be primarily wet snow, again a mix, and maybe even some spotty freezing rain. It's going to be a travel headache, and that's going to happen, of course, over the weekend, really starting up on Saturday. Looking at the climate reanalyzer 2-meter temperatures, you can see anomalously cold up to the north across Canada. Coldest in this area here, and then you're looking at still colder air coming in off the Pacific Ocean. Southeast United States, really from Texas across into the Northeast United States and the Great Lakes, above normal in temperature currently. Let's check the weighted temperatures for the next 5 days. And that conclusion is the coldest weather is going to remain up to the western part of the U.S. and a little bit of a warm scenario, kind of what it's been doing with near neutral temperatures, getting a little bit of colder air influx. However, temperatures do level off, and we're looking at a very stable temperature pattern really starting in a couple days and continuing into next week. At the very tail end of that, temperatures will cool off just a bit, and we're looking at temperatures averaging about 3 degrees below normal, as some of that cold will spill in eventually from Canada into the northeast U.S. This is a daily snow extent for the entire northern hemisphere, and you can see that it's been up, it's been down, it's been up, it's been down, but primarily averaging a little bit below normal. Now, that's the northern hemisphere. However, in terms of North America, we've been actually holding our own a little bit higher there. That's it from here. Roger Hill, Wuthering Heights. Thanks for watching.